This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Rodosovich, George Stoy here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. It is a Monday, November 24th, short week. Thanksgiving.
Shout out. I love Thanksgiving.
How many plates on Thursday?
Oh, at least 2.5, maybe 3.
Yeah.
I mean, the best part of Thanksgiving, though, is the leftovers at night. You know, because I don't know about your family. We like to do our Thanksgiving like lunchish time.
Yeah, we're before the Cowboys game. I think that's kind of become a thing at like 3 o'clock, 2:45. So
but then when it's like 8 p.m. and you get the turkey back out,
there will be a second helping on Thursday evening. Welcome in Oklahoma, one game away from clinching its spot in the college football playoff. I think that we're pretty comfortable with that. Like it's a win and you're in type of situation. 17-6 over Missouri over the weekend. A really good performance, really dominant defensive performance. We'll welcome in Josh McCuistion here and start the Game Day Rewind. But first, let us tell you about our good friends over at Homefield, homefieldapparel.com, premium collegiate apparel brand based out of Indianapolis. Comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. You got the 90s retro hoodie or jacket there. It's kind of getting to that point of the season where you do need a little bit warmer clothes. George, coach's jacket, bomber jacket, got the crew neck sweatshirts as well. Very good time to hit up our good friends over at Homefield Apparel.
I was actually on there just this past weekend buying some Christmas gifts. I won't say what I got, but they've got a lot of really good stuff over there. So now is the time. Get your Christmas shopping done early.
Very good. Head over to homefieldapparel.com for all of your stocking stuffer needs. Thank you to our good friends over at homefieldapparel.com. We shall now welcome in Mr. Josh McCuistion. Oklahoma 9-2. Still weird to just completely talk about this openly, but very good spot. Josh, how are we?
Good, guys. I'm with you and share a lot of what I heard in the postgame pod, and that it doesn't feel like we're actually here. This is kind of crazy, and after Ole Miss, if you would have told me this would be the reality, I do not think I could have believed you.
No, I don't think that there's very many of us that would have thought that they were going to go on the run that they've had. Fifth ranked win over top 25 opponents, Michigan, Auburn, at Tennessee, at Alabama, obviously Missouri on Saturday. Most since 2015, Oklahoma leads the country with top 25 wins. We'll see where they're at on Tuesday night in the college football playoff rankings, which we love and adore, and shout out Heather Dinich. She does an unbelievable job. SEC awards on set. What are you shaking your head about? I just don't understand that. That seems like kind of condescending that you would do that. Anywho, big day for Oklahoma. 14 now weekly awards have gone to Oklahoma. This is the second consecutive week that they have a trio of awards. Taylor Wine, the Defensive Player of the Week. Grayson Halton, the Defensive Lineman of the Week, and Grayson Miller, the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, after averaging just under 50 yards per kick on Saturday. We'll start with Taylor Wine. It's an extension of what he's done all season. He's been fantastic. Grayson Halton's been unbelievable. And Grayson Miller's kind of come out of nowhere and just been a guy for Oklahoma in that special teams unit that has been phenomenal this season.
Yeah, that defensive line, man, they're nasty. We're watching some of the clips here. But they were fantastic again, and we'll dive into all the extracurriculars here in a second. But I feel like they were the biggest difference makers. And then Grayson Miller, we talked about it. He had some punts where that went through the end zone in that game, but he also, I think it was his last 3 punts all were pinned inside the 20 or something like that. So he came up big when they absolutely needed him to.
No doubt about it. It is kind of crazy, though, that you look at just the weekly awards. Oklahoma's been littered throughout that thing all season.
I'm very curious to see who ends up on the all-SEC teams.
Sure.
I think Wine will be on there. I think Grayson Halton could end up on there. I mean, obviously Tate Sandell. Maybe Grayson Miller gets on there because I think that's 3 teams they put out, all 3 all-SEC teams. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Satania's got a chance on offense to make it for Oklahoma. I don't know if they have a freshman team. I can't remember.
I think they do.
I want to say Fasusi. If they have a freshman team, Cortland Guillory
should definitely be on that list.
So they got a handful of guys. Kip Lewis could maybe make an all-SEC team. Owen Heineke could make an all-SEC team. So they got a handful of guys. Whereas last year it was I I don't know if they got somebody on
I
there.
think we're good. I don't have to really pay attention a whole lot. Josh, do you have anybody in mind that you think should be first, second, maybe third team All SEC?
I don't know that there's anybody that we haven't covered.
Sure.
Now, I will say a guy that I know probably won't make any of those lists that I think is playing really well is Peyton Bowen. Like, I wouldn't have any. I think he's I think as he's gotten better, so is this defense. Like, the pass coverage has gotten better. You're watching him play a really nice center field. There was a couple against Missouri where I think if a couple scenarios where Bo Perbula probably was close to pulling the trigger and didn't because of where Peyton Bowen had positioned himself and those kind of things. So, again, I think he has been a big role in maybe this pass defense shoring itself up a little bit here over the last month.
Yeah,
I think if Eli Bowen doesn't get, obviously he missed half the season. If he doesn't miss half the season, he's an all SEC type of player.
He's been an incredible part of an OU defense that has, it feels like, gotten better each week. Real quick, before we get into the actual game stuff, a little bit of different kind of setup that Oklahoma's had over the last couple of years. Usually you do the awards at the during senior day and all that kind of stuff. They actually did them before the game on Saturday. Derek Shepard, Most Inspirational Walk-On Award goes to Major Melson as well as Ben Anderson. I think Ben Anderson has a chance to snap in the NFL. Very well could. Bob Kalsu Award, Grayson Halton, Dominic Williams, Kobe McKenzie, and then the Don Key Award going to Fabechi Wiwu and Owen Heineke. Well-deserved for both of those guys. As you see, Don Key, as per usual, in attendance for the awarding of the award, as well as all the other games in Norman. But congratulations to those guys. Let's get into the game. Oklahoma, I think everybody, you thought, all right, Bo Perbula, what's this guy going to be with the ankle injury coming back and returning to the field? And then they had the first drive, guys, and it was like, oh, shit, they're in for a day. As Missouri kind of just went right down the field against Oklahoma defensively.
Yeah, I think Josh and I in the group message were kind of like, oh boy, Oklahoma.
It's going to be a day.
Yeah, I was like, this is not, they're playing right into Missouri's hands. And, for Missouri to open the game with an 8-minute drive, and they just got 3 points, but it felt like, I was like, oh, that's the perfect start for Missouri if they want to win this football game. And then obviously what Oklahoma did offensively on its first few possessions was just horrific. We'll get to them in a second. But it did feel like this opening drive as we watch it here was pretty methodical. And it's like, man, if Missouri could do this all day, they got a chance. Obviously, they ended up not being able to do that all day. But you could see it took a second for Oklahoma's defense to settle in.
Yeah, you look at Oklahoma, or I guess really what Missouri did. When Eli Drinkwitz went to sleep, in Norman on Friday night, he's dreaming of an 8.5-minute opening drive. That is the perfect scenario. The game script was just what Missouri would want to do, and then OU comes and goes 3 and out offensively on their own. But it was a perfect setup, and I think it was, guys, what they do is not. It's not like rare, but it's not something you run across a lot. And so I think it looked like OU had a little trouble adapting to it. I thought they got a little more aggressive and just kind of said, hey, okay, we're going to force Bo Perbula to beat us. Like, we're not going to let this run game get going. And I was noting it, guys, at the 4.5-minute mark, Ahmad Hardy had 6 carries for 42 yards. He ended up with, I think, 13 for 57, was it? Something like that?
Yes.
And you're just like, from that point forward, it was just absolute domination. So, again, I think you have, to the point, what amazes me, guys, is from almost like the second or third drive, it was like Missouri was like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this. Like, we're not going to be, they gave up on it so much earlier than I would have ever expected.
Ahmad Hardy entered the game averaging 134.6 yards per game, 6.8 yards per carry. He ends the day with 17 carries, 57 yards, as you said, Josh, 3.4. So nearly half yards per carry. And then obviously way under his season total. Second quarter, we'll get to the defense here in a second, just a dominant performance. I thought that we talked about this on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast, just in terms of the second quarter, Missouri's driving, and they have a 4th and 3. And that's kind of the flip of the entire game with the back-to-back timeouts. Brent Venables, I don't know if he necessarily called the timeout thinking that Drink would overthink it or think about it again or reevaluate and then send out the kicking unit. But that was it. That was the game-changing moment of the game with the block kick, and then obviously 3 plays later, Oklahoma and Isaiah Satania is running down 87 yards for the touchdown.
Yeah, I think that, Missouri's plan didn't really work out in terms of it felt like they were like, okay, we're just going to get some points. We don't think Oklahoma can score. And in that moment, though, I think it was, I was saying in the press box, if you score a touchdown here, if you're Missouri and you're up 10-0, Oklahoma might be done for. And so that's why it was a little strange, and especially considering how bad their field goal unit had been all season. I thought it was strange that they decided to end up kicking this. Obviously gets it blocked. I think it was Peyton Bowen that blocked it. But yeah, it totally flipped the game on its head. And, I still am scratching my head about why Missouri opted to do that.
Just being in the stadium too, that was a moment where it was pretty sleepy.
Yeah.
I think you probably
people
feel it up in the
were
press
getting
box.
restless.
There was some anxiousness, but that whole little moment going from the block kick, which second consecutive game that Oklahoma blocked a field goal, first time since I think 2002, 2003,
something like that,
something along those lines. It'd been well over 20 years. You move on from that, you get the big touchdown, and then obviously the defense comes out and they come up with a big stop, a terrible shank of a punt. And all of a sudden, it felt like Oklahoma was starting to roll. They get the touchdown. John Batir has a big, long run, and then he hits Giovanni Gibson. And all of a sudden, it's 14-3 after it seemed like Oklahoma was kind of up against it.
Well, and it did, and it was so funny because it turned everything that George and I were just talking about against Missouri. They'd wasted so much clock. They'd burned so much time, and they really had gone in with a mindset. And when you tell your players, hey, guys, we're going to shorten this game, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then mid-second quarter, you're like, okay, we got to throw all that out. They know what that means. They know, this isn't going the way we wanted it to. Like, that becomes a psychological battle, I'm sure, for a coach to have to okay, we're shifting what we're doing here, but that's not because, we're in trouble. Of course you're in trouble. And that's the thing where, George mentioned, they go in and go up 10-0 at 14-3. I mean, we know now that game was over, but even then you're like, I don't think Missouri's going to put up 14. It just didn't feel that way at that point in the game. I mean, I guess maybe I'm using a little bit of revisionist history because Missouri had moved the ball a little bit. They had some success. So maybe it didn't quite feel that way in the moment, but it definitely felt like if Oklahoma can just keep forcing Missouri to go 80 yards, it's going to be really, really hard for them to win this game. Down 11, they've got to score twice, all those kind of things. And knowing that when you say score twice, part of that's going to involve their kicking game, which is clearly just not where it needs to be. So, I thought the Peyton Bowen play was huge. And again, Georgia, and Eddie, I know you've talked about, I know it's something George and I've harped a lot on. It's timeout usage. And that's something I thought Brent really struggled with at times. This is one of those things that people don't think about when you talk about, you don't burn early timeouts, you don't do those kind of things. And they think of it like 2-minute drive scenarios. It gave Brent a look at something Eli Drinkwitz didn't want to show him. This is what we're going to do here on this key fourth down. And as soon as Brent got a look, he gets to come in. And clearly Drinkwitz was like, well, they've seen it now. They know what we're going to throw at them here. Okay, I'm going to try the field goal and just get out of here with some points. So again, that level of strategy, I mean, you have to give Brent some credit for seeing that, using the timeout, and using it very effectively. And
I think, too, Oklahoma has found these, odd ways to win games. And right now their perspective is basically, if you can get up a score or two on somebody, Oklahoma, that is, it just then comes up to the defense suffocating the other team. And I think for Oklahoma, the way they were able to flip that game so quickly, it almost felt over in the moment, and obviously Oklahoma had a chance in the second half to really put it away, and they played with some fire there. The defense kind of, lapsed a little bit, and rightfully so. They had gotten so many stops in a row that it was bound to happen at some point that Missouri's going to connect on some big plays. But if Oklahoma can do that, what they did, where they get up 2 scores and play some complimentary football, then they got a shot against anybody. I just don't know. You can't count on that all the time. Sure. But the way the defense is playing right now, like I said, suffocating these other teams. Like they basically have said, okay, we're going to, can you score on us 2 more times today? And a lot of teams in the country can't. I mean, you saw that with Missouri. Now, when you get to the playoff, there are going to be teams that you're going to face that can, push back a little bit. But you've seen them now in 3 straight weeks kind of do this thing where once they get up, man, they are a really, really tough bunch to beat.
Take a quick time out from the Game Day Rewind to tell you about our good friends over at Tushy. You've planned your holiday lineup, tracked playoff odds, and gift wrapped your roster, but you still wipe like it's 1888. Why? Why do you do that? George, what's your favorite part about having a Tushy bidet in your home?
It cleans everything down there, Eddie, and it's been awesome. We've had it now in our house for a little over a month now since we first got to know Tushy, and it's been awesome. We're waiting for Carrie still to get the one here at the office installed because I know that you guys need to clean yours as well.
That's certainly a must, and that's awfully accusatory of you, but it would be nice. All you got to do is go to hellotushy.com/shooterscoop. Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and bottom health for life. Tushy Wave instantly modernizes your daily routine and bathroom with a super sleek seat plus 2 separate front and rear nozzles for the most complete clean. Remember, a-hole is only a naughty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code SoonerScoop at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com with the promo code SoonerScoop. Thank you to our good friends over at Tushy.
Very easy to install.
I like that.
Should add that.
I like that. Yeah. Very good. Thank you to Tushy. We also must tell you about our good friends over at Lucy. 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Also have the Lucy Breakers, nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. We got them here at the Suitor Scoop offices, and you can have yours at home as well. All you got to do is go to lucy.co/Suitor Scoop. Use the promo code Suitor Scoop. Plenty of different flavors to choose from, different milligrams, 4, 8, 12. I'm a big boy. I use 12. Go to lucy.co/Suitor Scoop and use promo code Suitor Scoop to 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Thank you to our good friends at Tushy as well as Lucy. Now back to the Game Day Rewind. Pretty incredible. All right, let's talk about the defense. Elite. Just an elite group, and I think that maybe some of these numbers will put it in perspective. 4th game this season, Oklahoma hasn't allowed a touchdown. That's Illinois State, Temple, Kent State, Mizzou. Missouri ranks 6th in rushing, 241.7 yards per game. Their season low previously coming into the game was 91 yards against Auburn. The second lowest was Alabama, 163 yards. Oklahoma holds them to 70 yards on 35 carries, 2.0 yards per carry. They held them to 0 net rushing yards in the second half on 9 carries. It's the 7th game Oklahoma has held an opponent under 80 rushing yards. 3rd consecutive game that they've held the opponent under 80 rushing yards. That's Tennessee, Bama, Missouri. I think those are 3 pretty good teams. And lastly, turnovers. 3rd straight game with multiple turnovers. Now 8 turnovers in the last 3 games for Oklahoma defense. And I don't know where you guys want to start, because this was just a suffocating, dominant performance. Maybe one of the more solid performances all season. We talked about it on the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast, George. What was the number? 3 for 16 on 3rd down, including, I believe, the last 12 consecutive 3rd downs.
Something
they did
like
not
that.
Convert.
They might have converted one late. I can't remember exactly, but
that's not counting. I think it was a defensive pass interference on a 3rd down that extended the drive. You guys get the bit. A couple terrible defensive pass interference calls.
Yeah, no, just a remarkable performance. One of the better defensive performances that I can remember in Norman in a while, and they've had a couple already this year. So it's just fantastic. I got this question the other day, or I said in my 10 things I think I know after the game that I think it's the best defense of my lifetime. And I've had some people say, well, 2001 is up there too. And I'm sure it is. I was 5 years old. I don't remember.
Sure.
But I know for me personally, watching this defense, I'm going to remember this group for a long time.
What year were you 5?
What?
What year were you 5?
2001.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Right. But I think the thing that is amazing to me, guys, is, yes, this team's, this defense is full of NFL talent, and they've got some guys. I wouldn't say they have anybody that's like a bona fide 1st round pick. Like, they don't have just like a superstar 1st rounder. Maybe R. Mason Thomas could have been that guy if he didn't get hurt, but they just have so many guys. Like, they have, it's it's unbelievable the amount of guys that can come in and contribute.
You listed them off in the instant reaction. It was literally like a 35-second, like this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
It's like there's so many moments where somebody else was stepping up and making a play, and that's the thing. And it's at all three levels. It's not just like, because I think early in the year it was a lot of the front seven, and it's still a lot of the front seven. I think that's kind of what makes this thing go. But think about some of the plays that Peyton Bowen made, like Josh said. How about Michael Boganowski comes up? That's an underrated play in the game on the 3rd and goal, coming up and stuffing Ahmad Hardy. That was a massive play. The corners, Jacoby Johnson, who really hasn't played all season, he comes up with maybe the greatest play of the day on the interception. Like, they just have guys on all three levels of the defense that we haven't seen in a very long time in Oklahoma.
Is it hard to even like comprehend that Oklahoma's playing this well defensively, Josh? Like, everything that Brent basically said from day one has kind of come to fruition this year. And we talked about like how many of these guys were going to make jumps throughout the season or just into this 4th year, because a lot of these guys now in their 3rd, 4th year in the defense, it's just been unbelievable, Josh. And I think Bud Elliott said it best on Twitter on Saturday. Like, this is a defense that can roll out. They can win you every single game from here on out. They can do that. You're obviously going to need help offensively. We'll talk about them here in a second.
Yeah, we'll use the other part of that tweet in a little bit, Eddie. But I mean, but it's true. Like, because of this defense, you can win any game you play. Just because, I mean, there's a non-zero chance that any offense they play, they could pitch a shutout. Like, that's not going to happen? No, of course it's not. Like, there's some great offenses out there, but like, that's how dominant and how special they are. And again, like, it's one of those things where I felt like early in the year you could see, okay, like, there's a problem here, or, you know, this metric's not showing them that well because they're struggling in this area. Not struggling. I mean, struggling is relative, but like, they're lesser here than they are in run defense or in their ability to create havoc plays with their front, you know, those kind of things. But now as you watch it, you're like, I don't see the big flaw. Like, I don't like, again, there's ways you're going to attack Oklahoma, but there's not this overriding theme of like, well, if they run into this kind of offense or this kind of player, they're in trouble. Like, no, they can stand up with anybody. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of what kind of help they get. And again, we'll cover that. But I mean, it's unbelievable because, like you said, guys, there's not a upperclassman that you look at and say, well, that dude's a first rounder. There's several guys in the underclassmen group that you're like, yep, they've got a chance to be some. I mean, David Stone kind of leading the field. But there's a bunch of guys where you're, again, I can't, I guess it's just my recruiting brain. I look to the future a lot, and I'm just like, this group could be better next year. Like, that's a very realistic possibility.
It feels like, too, like Josh just said, like, teams looking at Oklahoma, they probably go, the one weakness is maybe the true freshman cornerback. Maybe we could attack him, and it's like, oh, the guy that's just been one of the best shutdown corners in the SEC this year. Like, yeah, he's a true freshman, but if that's Oklahoma's lone weakness, I think OU's willing to live with that because he's been really damn good.
You'll have to forgive me. I forget if it's national or if it's just SEC, but I want to say that Cortland Guillory either is in the top 5 nationally or just within conference play, or maybe it's just freshmen of passes broken up this
I think it's
season.
The SEC.
Is it just the SEC?
I think it's the SEC,
just
but
as a whole.
Nationally, he's in the top, 10 or 15.
20.
Yeah, I mean, he's been unbelievable.
He's been fantastic. What were you going to say, Josh? Sorry.
No, I was going to say just to make a quick follow-up to George's comment, your weakness is probably a first-team freshman All-American. Like,
yes.
That's your big hole on defense. Oh, okay, we can live with that. You know, that's what you're absolutely thinking if you're Oklahoma's defense.
I think that there's reason to believe, and just depending on what we saw from Michael Van Buren and LSU this past weekend against Western Kentucky, it should be a pretty good matchup for Oklahoma going against a young freshman quarterback. It kind of reminds me, Josh, of back in the day when Brent was here this first time around, and we talked about this a little bit as well with Kerry, that when you matched up with a young freshman quarterback or just even a high-powered offense like Seneca Wallace, I think was the example that we used, you just knew that Brent Venables was going to have an answer for all of that. Anything that was thrown out there, they were going to have an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was so funny when you guys both were kind of working to that point. it was like almost simultaneous of like Seneca Wallace, like because I was at that game. I remember being there, and it was this wet, muddy, nasty game. And I mean, that game was over, guys, mid second quarter. Like they had just destroyed Iowa State and left nothing. And again, like I agree that I would say that 2001 group was probably a little better just because like there's just a few more elite pieces, you know, your Rocky Kalmuses and your Teddy Lamans and your Roy Williams and Derek, you know, like, okay, great. But like from level to level, I think this group is deeper. Like, I mean, there's no question to me this defensive front is probably better because that group was led by like Tommy Harris, who was a great player, but he was a true freshman. Like, I mean, he was their best player at that point in time. So there was, you know, all along the defensive line, certainly not putting him ahead of Roy at that point. But yeah, so I mean, this is up there. I mean, this group is up there and stands up with any group that we've seen, and just the reality that it still has room to get better. It's getting better week to week. Like, it's not like, oh, these guys are seniors and they're just old heads and that kind of stuff. Like, no, they're getting better like Cortland Guillory is a great example. You watch him early in the year, you know, we watched him in that Auburn game. He flinched a couple times when the ball came his way. Now he's making smart decisions. That's not to say he's not getting called for some PIs that are strange at times. But at the same time, like, it's not from, oh, he's not prepared for that or he's not ready for that. He's been hardened a little bit by the SEC schedule.
There was a moment after, I think it was the first PI down on the I guess it'd be the southeast corner of the stadium or the southwest corner of the stadium, that I thought Brent Venables was going to like strike an official. I thought that there was going to be a punch thrown.
Guys, I mean, you were there. Was he more revved up even than usual? Like, I felt like I saw him a couple times like, oh, he's in the red, man. He's pissed.
I think he knows what's on the line.
Sure.
You know, I think he knows what's at stake. And I also think he knows that penalties, like, that's the one thing sometimes this defense gets some penalties that keeps drives alive. Yeah. And I think he knows how his team's winning games. Like, if Missouri goes and scores on any of these drives, like, all of a sudden it's a totally different game. So I think that he was just, he knew, man, like he knew those were the one things that could beat his defense was some, you know, questionable PI calls.
The thing that has beat this team in previous games, obviously Texas and Ole Miss this season, was not getting off the field on third down. Oklahoma, as we mentioned, Missouri, 3 of 15 on third down on Saturday. In its 9 wins, OU's held its opponents to 24% on third down conversion. That's 30 for 125. Ninth game this season in which Oklahoma has registered at least 8 tackles for loss, and the 7th game in which they recorded at least 4 sacks to just kind of close it out. They had 4 sacks on Saturday with 8 tackles for loss. Entering the game, Missouri had only allowed 22 sacks all season. That's like 2 a game. So defensively, it's phenomenal. Deep breaths, everybody. Now anything else on the defense before we go through this misery that is an offense right now?
And again, the last 2 weeks are being done without their best defensive player. Like, it's just, that's crazy to think about. And I don't know about you guys, but when they don't have 10 tackles for loss, I'm like, well, okay, I guess that was a good, like it almost, like I've gotten so adjusted to, they're just going to put up astronomical numbers in that category that I don't know, I over expect what they're going to do from week to week. And it skews my point of view where this defense we're watching is just historically good.
And who knows? I mean, I think that's something to definitely keep an eye on.
I mean, they're averaging 10 tackles for loss per game, the most in the country.
It's insane. It's insane.
Almost 1.5 more than the next team, which is Texas A&M.
And we've talked about how important it is to get teams behind the chains. And obviously, we've seen with an Oklahoma offense what happens when they do get behind the chains, how tough it is for some of these teams. All right, let's talk about the offense. Everybody ready for this? It was bad. And Josh, I think that it's getting worse than better. Ironically, like the exact opposite of what this defense is. The other part of that Bud Elliott tweet, Oklahoma can beat anybody with this defense. The other flip side of it, they can lose to anybody with this offense. And just a struggle all the way around. We talked about Oklahoma wanting and needing Damn, okay. We'll have something to talk about in the recruiting report as we're recording this. Jonathan Hatton has flipped to Oklahoma as expected from Steve Wiltfong. We'll get to that in the recruiting report. That'll be up on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel this evening on a Monday. Just offensively, though, Josh, it seemed like they wanted to create the vertical passing game. We talked about it. And the irony that we saw in the first quarter, especially as they tried to throw the ball all over the yard, it just wasn't working. Where do we go from here? I guess that's kind of the start here, is where and how can this offense just take some steps to at least give your defense a chance to go run and chase a national title?
Well, I want to start by being fair. I do think there's no question that Xavier Robinson being so limited hurt that offense.
Sure.
Like they were not the same. They didn't even try to do some of the stuff we saw in the first half against Alabama. We saw really through much of the second, third, and fourth quarters against Tennessee, where they really used him as kind of a battering ram that just wore down those defenses as time went on. So I think you have to be fair to that and say, okay, they were fighting through some things. I like that they went out, like you said, Eddie, and tried to take some chances, tried to work vertically. I was okay with that. Now, I understand that you're going to game script that, and your 15 plays you've got set, and that's what you're going to do. Coming right off of Missouri's long 8.5-minute drive, I don't know, like maybe I'm like, okay, let's see if we can just get a few first downs, give our defense a breather, but that's probably a little bit unfair. But again, they've got to find a way to get. They have some playmakers. I don't think they don't. Jaron Kanik, every time that guy touches the ball, good things happen. Isaiah Satania, I don't think we even need to say it. That guy's got a chance to have 1,000 yards. Like, he's not played poorly this year. I agree with you guys. I feel like we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I heard you guys in the postgame pod. Deion Burks is who he is. Like, I don't think it's realistic to keep expecting things from him. Honestly, if I'm Oklahoma and Keontez Lewis is healthy, Keontez Lewis would be my second option. Like, I feel like he's done more when healthy than Deion Burks has really at any point in his career. Like, that's just where I'm at with it.
And Josh, he's a blocker.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem with Burks when he's on the field is like they try to run some of the screen action stuff, and he's getting beat on those. And I'm not saying Burks has no role. Like, I think that you can find some stuff to get him the football in different ways, and they need to work on that. But I don't know. There's a lot of issues with the offense, and a lot of people want to say, well, is it Arbuckle's fault? Is it Mateer's fault? It's everyone's fault. Like, there's not just a single person. Like, I don't think that like Arbuckle's offense is just some terrible offense. Like, I don't think that that's the case. Does he have some times where he calls plays differently than I would? Yeah, I'm also not an offensive coordinator, but also like it feels like he doesn't let the offense get into a rhythm sometimes. Like, there's moments in games where, hey, you're running the ball well, just keep running it. Maybe don't try to mix it up. Now, I think that's difficult when you don't have a running back. I think there's also times that he doesn't let John Mateer have some just easy throws, and I think it's pretty clear Mateer has struggled with processing at times. And so can you simplify things? Like, is that something you can do? And then there's also times that, guys, he's got it dialed up and Mateer sees it and he just makes a bad throw. Like, we talked all week about pushing the ball down the field. They did, and they had guys open and Mateer missed them.
And they were close, and sometimes that's just going to happen, right?
Right. And so, if you just connect on a few more of those, maybe that opens up the offense. Like, I think it was the first play of the game. They take a shot to Burks
it's
down the sideline.
Right here.
And, if he hits on that play, on the first play, maybe that changes everything. Maybe that changes how things open up and how the offense operates. But they didn't hit on those. And so that's the tough part is, like, you see some of these throws. If he hits some of those, then maybe we're not making some of these same discussions. It just feels like right now, though, they've put so much on Mateer's shoulders. And I get it. He's the quarterback. He's got to play better. No doubt about it. But at the same time, it feels like they're not taking things off his plate, right? I think they had 62 offensive plays. 48 of them is either Mateer throwing or running the football. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just a lot to put on his shoulders. And we've seen enough of Mateer to know that maybe he can't handle all that. Like, I think he's still got a lot of talent, but it's pretty clear that he's struggling at certain things. And I don't know. It's just not working. They need to get healthy. I still think they should play some other guys at receiver too, but at this point, I think it is what it is, and Oklahoma's just kind of accepting the reality of what their offense is.
George, let me ask you, and if you don't want to share with the classroom, that's more than fine if you don't have the numbers in front of you.
I do have the numbers in front of me.
Josh, what is your idea just in terms of, I don't know if this is even a theory as much as it is fact. They're playing some pretty damn good defenses. Has it just been a little bit of a hiccup in adjusting to seeing some of the better upper echelon defenses, especially of the SEC, that John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle have seen over the last couple of weeks?
And
some numbers.
Yeah, let me read you these numbers, Josh, before we kick it to you. Oklahoma this year has faced 6 top 40 defenses. Three of those 6 are in the top 17 in the country. Last year at Washington State, Arbuckle and Mateer faced only one defense ranked in the top 50, and it was Washington. So I think that is, like, I'm not saying that's just an excuse, but it's certainly part of the equation that neither of these guys have faced some of the competition. Like Eddie said, some of the stuff they're running with on the edges and some of the run game stuff, some of the quarterback run game stuff, like that probably worked against, Wyoming, or
I think I used Oregon State. Poor Oregon State as an example.
Like whoever they played
Although
last
I think
year.
Oregon State beat Washington State last year.
I think they did.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, but maybe Washington State was able to make one more guy miss or something, right? Like that doesn't happen in this league. Like, and we're also forgetting Missouri's ranked top 10 in almost every category defensively. Like, it's a good defensive football team. They deserve some credit, but I certainly think the level of competition is a factor in what you're seeing with the Oklahoma offense.
Are these just excuses, Josh?
It's tough. In some ways, sure.
Yeah.
Like the offense, there is more there than what they're getting. There's there's no way around that. I know that's not what George's arguing. I know. You have to consider this defense. Like, I know it's tough for people to wrap their head around. Missouri's really good defensively. They have multiple NFL guys, and frankly, at every level. Trotter guys, like, I knew I liked him.
Awesome.
Watching him against Oklahoma, that dude's a killer. Like, I maybe Barham at Michigan's the only guy I've seen that I thought played with that same just level every snap of intensity of anybody OU's faced this year. But at the same time, like, you look at some of the numbers. I was looking at Alabama. Oklahoma had 212 yards, 4.2 per play. That is almost the worst performance against Alabama's defense by anyone they've played this year. Now, you exclude Eastern Illinois last week, over the weekend, who put up 34 yards of total offense against Alabama. But I mean, like Wisconsin guys, Wisconsin put up 4.1 and 209 against. That's what we're talking about here. Like that's a Wisconsin level offense. And again, I get, and we talked about this last week. I get that there is a plan to, okay, we're going to minimize risk. We're going to do some things like that. And that's fine. I get it. That is the best path for this team to win. At the same time, eventually you're going to face teams who can do something with Oklahoma's defense, and you're going to have to come out of that shell. And if you haven't prepared to do so, I don't know how you can reasonably expect things to go well. Like, I mean, okay, now we're going to take vertical shots and we're going to do this and that. And man, cool. Ohio's, again, we keep talking about that 8-9 matchup. Let's say OU gets out of that. They're going to have to go play Ohio State, guys. Like, all right. That defense might be the only one in the country I've seen that can actually play at Oklahoma's level.
To get there, you got to do it, though.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
And look, I think that some of this, like, again, I'm not saying OU's going to suddenly be a great offensive team. There's just little things that if they could just simplify some of it, or just, say, hey, we're just, like, I wrote in my mailbag, it's like, pick 5 plays that you think you're good at and just keep running them. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I
feel like this is like PTSD from a year ago. I feel like they're right back to where they were. With that said, though, this group is much better. There is like at least a little bit of hope.
I would say this group is better, but I would say go across the board and say, what positions are they better at?
Sure. Well,
I'm not so sure they're better at. I mean, they're not better at tight end, I don't think. They're better, I think, on the offensive line. At least I think that I actually think the offensive line might be the best offensive group they have right now. I think they're a little better at quarterback right now, just because he's not turning the ball over and he is making some big plays. They have one better wide receiver, but other than that, it's not a better group than a year ago. And then running back, it's the same group. I mean, it's the same situation with actually probably a lesser Xavier Robinson because he's hurt right now and he's playing hurt. So like you look across the board, talent-wise, it's really not that much better than a year ago. And that's why like I think that they can get a little bit better. Maybe they can find some stuff. They can find some more ways to get Satania the football. Maybe Xavier Robinson can get healthy and you can lean on him. But the reality is I don't think that this group is going to get just a whole heck of a lot better by the end of the season. There's one game left.
And none of this is going to get better, or at least if you're able to get through Saturday against LSU and on into the playoffs, if you don't have somebody like a Xavier Robinson healthy.
Yep.
We talked about it. You talked about it on the Instant Reaction as well as the post-game podcast. Xavier Robinson does play through injury on Saturday, basically played on one leg, 12 rushes for 43 yards, net 42. Also made some, contribution in the pass game, 4 receptions, 16 yards. Kind of incredible that he was able to play, though, on Saturday and be productive.
Yeah, I mean, he's a gutsy player. For all the things that we just said negatively about the offense, Xavier Robinson deserves his flowers to go out there and play the way he did. And, I really do think, Josh said it right at the top when we started talking about the offense. We're not saying the offense would be some great group, but if Xavier Robinson was healthy, I think it would be much improved. I mean, you would be able to turn around and just hand him the ball like you were able to against Ole Miss and Tennessee in those games. Like I think you'd feel a lot better. But he was great, and he threw some big blocks late in this game too. You're seeing him here with the ball in his hands. But I thought some of his best plays on the day were on some third and long scrambles where Mateer's like running out of the pocket and he comes up and hits somebody. So. He was just awesome, and considering he's playing on a bum knee, I mean, that's what you want out of your players. And the line from Venables after the game about that's what you get from guys at Carl Albert. I mean, that's an all timer.
Carl Albert looks unstoppable right now in 5A as they move on into the state semifinals. Shout out Coach Dunn over there. It's kind of incredible, though. This is where it's at right now with Oklahoma offensively. As you saw, that was the play that Xavier actually ended up getting hurt and hobbled off the field. There he is. It was kind of incredible that he was able to come back. And you can't really see it there, but he has a big old knee brace on.
Huge.
Yeah. I don't know if you could tell with the Unity uniforms, but it's a struggle right now offensively. There's no doubt about that.
It is, everything just looks so hard. And I thought George made a good point. You talk about pick 5 plays you're good at. This offense has no identity, guys. Like there's no okay, this is what they're good at. This is who they are. Like there's none of that. And again, I get that the team, and I said this last week, the team has an identity. The team has an idea of how to win the game. And they are, in a manner, can simplify this thing so much for the offense, but the offense has got to give them something. They've got to be able to be relied on in some way. Now, I think with a healthy Xavier Robinson, maybe they were trending in that direction. They were starting to figure some things out, and then he gets nicked up. But again, guys, that's part of the problem for me. And I know, again, the recruiting guy here on the show, there is a how did you get to this spot where you have 2 backs that are, healthy, available, quote, in quotes, however you want to say it. There are 2 guys you're willing to put on the field right now, and neither of them are healthy.
It's crazy.
That's really tough to tell me that that's not a management problem. That's been managed as well as it could be if that's where you're at.
Tate Sandell, fantastic, yet again. Only had one opportunity to really do anything, but he did knock it down.
Can he play running back?
I honestly, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, he's done everything else so well this year. Had the 45-yarder, obviously, there in the third quarter, beginning on the first possession of the third quarter.
Which was a big kick. That was a big kick. Get it to 2 scores.
Absolutely.
And that was actually one of the Oklahoma's better drives of the day. And that's the thing is, I said this after the game, we're not even asking Oklahoma to go down and score touchdowns, right? It's in the second half, if they just kick, 1 or 2 more field goals, you feel good about where you are in the game. But they couldn't even do that. I mean, they barely crossed the 50, and they got the ball at the 50 to start start the drives.
I mean, George, you talked about, it's not like you guys get to 24. Yeah. Oklahoma gets to 24, they've got a chance to win against anybody in the country. And I mean Ohio State, I mean anybody. But 24 against some of these defenses without some help from the defense looks like it's miles in the distance. Like that's that's a lot to ask with where this offense is at right now.
Whew, okay. Well, I think they can put together enough against LSU. It'll be another really strong test, obviously, another really good defense, but they got to figure it out. Yeah. And if you can get through that, you have to somehow use this next month leading into the college football playoff to find some answers on the offensive side of the ball. Josh, just in terms of offensive line, what did you think about their play on Saturday? Derek Simmons played quite a bit more than he had in his return after coming back against Alabama last week.
Yeah, that was a surprising thing to me. And it's not that I'm not one of those people that think Simmons shouldn't be on the field or anything like that. I'm fine with him rotating or doing some stuff, but I don't like anything that stunts Ryan Foje's growth. Like I want him out there as many snaps as you can give him, that kind of stuff. We talked about that early in the season. And once you feel like you found your guy, and I know Foje had a few bad moments early in that game. He did. Are we going to pretend like Derek Simmons was clean in that game? Like he wasn't. Like they gave up some pass rushers because Missouri's really good on the edge. Like that's okay. Like I mean, it's not okay, but that's going to happen. And so I don't know why that. I don't know if somebody had mentioned maybe Foje limped off a little bit. Maybe I missed that or something. So maybe it was kind of injury related, or they were protecting Foje a little bit, and that's completely understandable if that's what it is. But it just was kind of one of those things where I'm like, I don't know why this is moving in this direction because, again, I'm always the guy that if you got two players that are equal, I'm going to play the upside guy, and Foje's clearly that answer in that conversation.
Per Missouri defensive ends coach Brian Early, his guys had a fantastic day against Michael Fasusi.
That was a tweet. There was
a lot of those this weekend. That's a tweet.
And he's a good coach. I mean, like that D-line is good. His edges are good. Like it was just why? Why do you need to do that? It was a strange thing.
I will say, and I think we said it on the post-game podcast, but just Missouri from a physical standpoint, talking about Trotter and then the Zion Young guy, they look very, very good. Like and I don't know, maybe it's just something in the back of my brain. They're always going to be Missouri and a team that Oklahoma's now beat 9 of the last 11, 33 of the last 38, but he's done a really good job. As big of a dork as Eli Drinkwitz is, they have a good program, as much as it pains me to say that. They've done an exceptional job.
I thought Prabula did a really good job. I mean, he wasn't great at times, sure, but like to go out there and play with that injury, it was gutsy.
There needs to be an investigation. Did this guy really dislocate his ankle? Because he moved extremely well.
And he made some outstanding throws in the fourth quarter, guys. He dropped
the one should have been a touchdown.
Nice
the Kevin Coleman throw,
absolutely.
That's as good as it possibly can get. And I'll say, like, even the 3rd and 2 that a lot of people did not like, myself included, that Mateer had Satania over on the east sideline. It was a good throw. And I would rather them continue to try that.
I think they should continue to try to push the ball down the field.
Sure.
And just hope you connect on a couple of them. Because if they connect, like I said earlier, if you just connect on like 2 of those, maybe they're touchdowns or maybe they open some other stuff up in the offense. But I think you got to at least try to continue to do some of that stuff.
But most importantly, they didn't turn the ball over. And I think that's one of the reasons, outside of the just mind-blowing fourth quarter interception in Knoxville, that's something this defense or offense, you can say they've done over the last 3 games. They're not turning the ball over. And when we talked about it last week, the 17 turnovers or whatever it was in conference play a year ago was one of the parts of the reason why they were one of the worst offenses in the modern era of the program.
Yeah, only 7 this year so far.
Been a good ride with that.
Hopefully they don't have 10 against LSU.
10 turnovers?
Yeah.
They have 10 turnovers. I will jump off the top of the press box. Jeff Ketchum would like that. All right. That's going to do it for the Game Day Rewind. I've had a lot of restraint. I'm very proud of myself here as of the last 48 hours. Shout out to everybody that has donated to the Boys and Girls Club of Norman. They're over $20,000 now in donations. So that is
crazy.
Pretty freaking awesome.
That's amazing.
All right. That's going to do it. We will re-rack. We got a recruiting report, massive news out of the recruiting world for Oklahoma on Monday afternoon. They have officially flipped back, I guess. Jonathan Hatton, who was one-time Oklahoma commit, committed to Texas A&M. He decommits from Texas A&M. He's committed to Oklahoma now. Did you follow all that? So, very good. Oklahoma, LSU, 2:30 on Saturday. Senior day down in Norman for a number of guys, and should be a really good atmosphere. I'm excited about this one. It's just unique, right? In the chance that Oklahoma has a chance to clinch something on their home field. It should be one of the more rabid,
should be awesome
atmospheres that Oklahoma's had in Norman in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Are
you going to take your shirt off? You should take your shirt off in the press box.
I don't think I'll be doing that, but
okay.
I will be excited for the game. It'll be fun.
What about your pants?
Nope.
Take your pants off?
Not going to do that, Eddie. You asked that way too often.
That would get you arrested. I was just testing you. All right. Josh, we appreciate it. George, we appreciate it. Ed, we appreciate it. You're welcome. We will see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.